malstodor, in prison, certes nigh, but in paradise. Well hath fortune turned the dice, that hast the sight of lure and eye th' absence. For possible is, since thou hast dire presence, and art a knight, a worthy and unable, that by some cause in fortune is changeable, thou wast to thy desire some time attain, but I that am exiled and barren, of all a grace and in growth despair, that there is earth a water, fire, ne air, ne creature that of him make is, that may me heals or doom comfort in this. Well ought I stay in one elope and distress. Farewell, my life, my lust, and my gladness. Alas, why plenen folk so in commune of purveyance of God or of fortune, that gaveth him full oft in many a guise, will better than they have himself devised. Some man desireth fortune or riches, that causes of his murder of great sickness, and some man will out of his prison fain, that in his house is of many slain. Infinite harms within this matter, we witten not what thing we frayed here. We foreign is he that drunk as a mouse, a drunk man, what well he hath an house, but he knowed which the right ways thither, and to a drunk man the way is slider. That certes in this world so fatten we second fast after felicity, but we gone wrong full often truly. Thus may we say another, and namely I that wender and had a great opinion, that if I might escapen from prison, then had I been in joy and perfect heal, that now I am exiled from my will. Sin that I may not see you, Emily, I am but dead, therein is no remedy. Upon that other side Palamon, one that he wist a sight was agone, switch sore where he maketh that the great door resounded of his howling and clamour. The pure fetters on his shrines grit, wherein of his bitter saltest tears wet. Alas, quod he, are sit the cousin mine, of all our strife, God would the fruit is ruin. Thou walkest now in thieves at thy large, and of my woe thou givest little charge. Thou mayest, in thou wast wisdom and manhood, assembling all of the folk of our kindred, and make a warrant so sharp on this city, that by some adventure or some treaty thou mayst have to hire to lady and to wife, for whom that I most needest less my life. For as by way of possibility sith thou art at thy large of prison free, and art a lord, great is thine advantage, more than is mine that sterve here in a cage. For I mote weep and wail while I live, with all the true woe that prison may me give, and eke with pain that love me giveth also, that doubleth all my torment and my woe. Thor with the fear of jealousy upstairt within his breast, and hente him by the heart, so woodly that he like was to behold the box tree or the ashen dead and cold. Then said he, O cruel goddess that govern this world, with binding of your word etern, and written in the table of Athamont, your parliament and your etern grant. What is mankind more unto you hold than is the sheep that rocketh in the fold? For slain is man right as another beast, and dwelleth eke in prison and arrest, and hath sickness and great adversity, and oft times guiltless pardie. What governance is in this prescience, that guiltless tormenteth innocence, and yet increaseth this all my penance, that man is bounden to his observance, for goddess' sake, to letten of his will, whereas a beast may all his lust fulfill. And when a beast is dead, he hath no pain, but after his death man would weep and plain. Though in this world he hath care and woe, without and doubt it may be stonden so. The answer of this I let to divineness, but well I would that in this world great pines. Alas, I see a serpent or a thief, that many a true man hath done mischief, who gone at his large and where him list, may turn, but I mote be in prison through Saturn, and eke through Juno, Jealous and Equod, that hath destroyed well nigh all the blood of thieves which his waste dwelleth wide. And Venus sleeth me on that other side, for jealousy and fear of him are sight. Now will I stint Polemon alight, and let him in his prison still dwell, and of Arcita forth I will you tell. The summer passeth, and the nights long, increasing double-wise the pains throng, both of the lover and the prisoner. They note which hath the wofuller master, for shortly to say in this Palamon, perpetually is damned to prison, in chains and in fetters to be indeed, and Arcita is exiled upon his head. Forevermore as out of that country nevermore he shall his lady see. Your lover's axe, I know this question. Who hath the worse, a city or Palamon, that one may see his lady day by day, but in prison he mote dwell alway, that other where he list may ride or go, but seeing his lady shall he nevermore. Now he damneth as thou list, ye that can, for will I tell forth as I began. Skipping ahead. In darkness and horrible and strong prison, these 7 years hath sitten Palamon, for pined, what for woe and for distress. Who feeleth double sore and heaviness but Palamon, that love destroyeth so that would out of his wit he goth for woe, and eke thereto he is a prisoner perpetually, not only for a year. Who could rhyme in English properly his martyrdom? For sooth it I am not I, therefore I pass as lightly as I may. It fell that in the 7th year in May, the 3rd night, as old books say'n, that all this storytelling more plain, were it by adventure or destiny, as when a thing is sharpen it shall be, that soon after midnight Palamon, by helping of a friend, break his prison, and fleeth the city fast as he may go, for he had gave his gaoler drink so, of clear mead of a certain wine, of narcotics and opi of Thames flin, that all that night o' that men would him shake, the gaoler sleep he might not awake, and thus he fleeth as fast as ever he may. The night was short and fast by the day, that needs cost him out himself and hide, unto the grove foster beside, with dreadful foot than a stalketh Palamon. For shortly this was his opinion, that in that grove he would him hide all day, and in the night then would he take his way to Thebes' ward and his friends for to pray on Theseus to help him to array. And shortly after would he lose his life, or winning Emily unto his wife. This is the effect, and his intent plain. Now will I turn to Iseta again, that little waste how nigh that was his care, till that fortune had brought him in the snare. The busy lark, messenger of day, salueth in her song the moor grey, and fairy Phoebus riseth up so bright, that all the Orient laugheth of the light, and with his high streams drieth in the graves the silver drops hanging on the leaves. And Arcita that is in the court royal, Theseus, his squire principal, is risen and looken on the merry day, and for to doom his observance to May, remembering on the point of his desire, he on a courser startling as the fair, is riding into the fields him to play, out of the court, were it a mile or tway, and to the grove of which that I yow told, by aventure his way he gone to hold, to make in him a garland of the graves, where it of woodbine or hawthorn laves, and loud he sung amain the sunshine, May, with all thy flowers in thy grain, welcome be thou, fair fresh May, in hope that I am some grain get may. And from his courser with a lusty heart, into a grove full hastily he start, and in a path he roameth up and down, whereas by aventure this Palamon was in a bush that no man might him see, for sore afeard of his death an was he. Nothing he knew, he that it was Arcite. God would he would have crowed at full light, but so 'tis said, goesith in many years, that field hath eyen, and the wood hath ears. It is full fair a man to bear him even, for all they met at men at onset Devon. Full little wood Alcide of his fellow, that was so nigh to hearkening all he saw, for in the bush he sitteth now full still. When that Arcite had roamed all his field, and sungen all the rounde lustily, into a study he fell suddenly, as doen these lovers in her quaint garris, now in the crop, now down in the briars, now up, now down, as a bucket in a well. Right as the Friday, soothly for to tell, now it shineth, now it raineth fast. Right so can geary Venus overcast the hertes of her folk. Right as her days careful, right so trondreth she array. Selte is the Friday out the week like. When that Arcite hath sung, he hath gone to seek, and set him down without any more. Alas, quod he, that day that I was bore, how long, Juno, for thy cruelty, wilt thou wear in Thebes the city? Alas, ye brought is to confusion the blood royal of Cadme and Amphion, of Cadmus, which that was the first man that Thebes built, or first the town began, and of the city first was crowned king. Of his lineage am I, and his offspring by very line, as of the stock royal. And now I am so caitiff and so thrall, that he is my mortal enemy. I serve him as his squire poorly. And yet doth Juno me well more shame, for I dare not speak no mine own name. But there as I was wont to hide our sight, but hide thy fellow straight, not worth a mite. Alas, thou fella Mars, alas, Juno, thus hath your ire our kindred all fordo, save only me and wretched Palamon, that Theseus martyreth in prison. And over all this to sleen me outrely, love hath his fiery darts so brinningly, ye stick through my true careful heart, that shapen was my teeth ere stand my shirt. Ye sleen me with your iron Emily, ye been the cause wherefore that I die, of all the remnant of mine other care, ne sette I not the mountains of Ter, so that I could down out to your pleasure. And with that word he fell down in a trance a long time, and after up he stared. This Palamon, that thought that thou were his heart, he felt the cold sword suddenish glide, for ere he cook, no longer would he bide. And when that he had heard, I set his tale, as he were wood, with face dead and pale. He stirred him up out of the bushes thick, and said, Arcite, false traitor wick, now arrogant that lovest my lady so, for whom that I have all this pain and woe, and art my blood, and to my counsel sworn, as I full oft have said thee here beforen, and hast by jest here do Theseus, and falsely charged hast thy name thus. I will be dead, or else thou shalt die. Thou shalt not love my lady Emily, but I will love her only and no more, for I am Palamon, thy mortal foe. And though that I no weapon have in this place, but out of prison am stirred by grace, I dread not that other thou shalt die, or thou ne shalt not loven Emily. 'Tis which thou wilt, for thou I shalt not stert. This our sight with full despot assert, when he him knew and had his tale heard, as tears as lion pulled out his sword, and said thus, by God that sit above, ne'er it that thou art sick and would for love, and eke that thou no wane hast in this place, thou shouldest never out of this grove pace, that thou ne shouldest dien of mine hand. For I defy the surety and the bond, which that thou seest that I have made to thee. Whatever I fool think well that love is free, and I will love here maugre all thy might, but for as much thou art a worthy knight, and willingness to darein higher by battle. Have here my troth, tomorrow I will not fail, without witting of any other wight, that here I will be founden as a knight, and bring harness right enough for thee, and choose the best, and leave the worst for me. And meat and drink this night I will bring, enough for thee, and clothes for thy bedding. And if so be that thou, my lady, win, and stay me in this wood, and if so be that thou, my lady, win, and she slay me in this wood there I am in, thou mayest well have thy lady, as for me. This Palamon answered, I granted thee, and thus they been departed till a more. One each of them had laid his faith to bore. Now been the lists mad Enthusiast, that at his great cost arrayed us, the temples and theatre of every deal, when it was done him leaked wonder weel. But stint I wool of Theseus a light, and spake of Palamon and of our sight. The day approacheth of here returnage, that ever it should 100 knights bring the battle to therein, as I you told, until Athenes here covenants for to hold, hath ever each of him brought 100 knights, well armed for the war, at alle rights. And secretly there trod many a man, that never sithen the world began, as for to speak of knighthood of your hond, as far as God hath maked your lawn, nas of so few so noble a company, for every wight that loved chivalry, and would his thanks on a passant name, hath prayed that he might been of that game. And well was him that thereto chosen was, for if there filled more switch a cause, ye known well that every lusty knight that loveth paramours and hath his might, were it in England or elsewhere, they would here thanks willing to be there, to fight for a lady. Benedicti, it were a lusty sight for to see. And right so fared they with Palamon, with him there went knights many on, some well ben armed in a haubergeon, and in breastplate and in a light gipon, and some would have a pair plates large, and some would have a prous shield or a targe, some would ben armed on her legs wheel, and have an axe, and some a mace of steel. There is no new guise that it is na sold, armed were they as I have you told, everych after his opinion. There must thou seen coming with Palamon, Lycurgia himself, the great king of Thrace. Black was his beard and manly was his face, the circle of his iron in his head, they glowden itwixen yellow and red, and like a griffin looked he about, with Kemperhyrus on his brows stout, his limes great, his bronze hard and strong, his shoulders broad, his arms round and long. And as the guise was in his country, full high upon a shot of gold stood he, full high upon a share of gold stood he, with 4 white bowls in the trays. Instead of coat armour over his arnaise, with nails yellow and bright as any gold, he had a bearskin coal black for old. His long hair was kemmed behind his back, as any raven's feather it shone for black. A wreath of gold armed great of huge white, upon his head set full of stones bright, of fine rubies and of diamonds. About his jar there went in white a lance, 20 and more, as great as any steer, to hunting at the lion or the deer, and followed him with muzzle festy bound, coloured of gold and turrets filed round. 100 lords had he in his rout, armed full well with hertes strong and stout, with their sight in stories as men find the great Emetrius, the king of Inde, upon a steed bay trapped in steel, covered in cloth of gold, draped weel, came riding like the god of arms Mars. His coat and oar was of cloth of tars, couched with pearls white and round and great. His saddle was of brent gold news yebate. A mantle was upon his shoulders hanging, brought full of rubies, red as fierce spangling, red as fire sparkling. His crisp hair like rings was yron, and that was yellow and glittered as the sun. His nose was high, his eyen bright citron, his lips round, his colour was sanguine. A few freckles in his face disprained, betwixt and yellow, and somedel black yemained. And as a lion he his looking cast, of 25 year his age I cast. His beard was well beginning for to spring, his voice was a trumpet thundering. Upon his head he weared a laurel green, a garland fresh and lusty for to sheen. Upon his hand he bar for his delight an eagle tame as any lily white. 100 lords he with him there, all armed save their heads in all their gear, full richly in all manner things, for trust as well the dukes, earls, kings, were gathered in this noble company, for love and for increase of chivalry. About this king there ran on every part full many a tame lion and leopard. In this wise the lords alles and some been on the Sunday to the city come, about prime and in the tune alight. This Theseus, this do, this worthy knight, when he had brought him to his city, and in him, average in his degree, he festeth him, and doth so great labour to essen him, and do'n him all honour, that yet men weeneth at no manner wit of noon is that he could amenden it. Skipping to the end now of the Knight's Tale. Sister, quoth he, this is my full assent, with all thy share of my parliament. That genteel Palamon, thine own knight, that serveth Yao with will, head, and might, and ever hath done sin that ye first him knew, that ye shall of your grace upon him rue, and taken him for housebond and for lord, lend me your hand, for this is our accord. Let's see now of your womanly pity. He is a king's brother's son, pardie, and though he were a poor bachelor, sin he hath served Yao so many a year, and hath for Yao so great adversity, it must have been considered leaveth me, for gentle mercy ought to pass and right. Then said he thus to Palamon for right, I trow there needeth little ceremonying to make Yao assent to this thing. Come near and take your lady by the hand. Betwixt him was made anon the bond, that hight matrimony or marriage, by all the council and the baronage, and thus with all a bliss and melody hath Palamon wedded Emily. And God that all this wide world hath wrought, send him his love that it dear abought. For now is Palamon in all a well, lying in bliss, in richesse and in heal, and Emily him loveth so tenderly, and he her serveth all so gently, that never was there no word him between of jealousy or any other teen. Thus endeth Palamon and Emily, and God save all this fair company. Here is ended the Knight's Tale.